is Money in the Bank week. It is 2024. So what else would we do but put our hands together and try and predict the darn show? Now, actually, my predictions haven't been too bad this year. It's not true. It's been about 50-50, which means for every prediction I do get right, I get one wrong. So from today, I'm going to keep a proper tally, and then we can revisit this later in the year. But it is going down in Toronto, so you know the crowd will be absolutely brilliant. Make sure you join in the comments as well, and hit the subscribe button. Do all the nerd things we're meant to be on YouTube. What am I doing? Let's go. And we shall start with the women's Money in the Bank, which is Io Sky versus Chelsea Green versus Lyra Valkyria versus Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi versus Zoe Stark. Now, some people said more people may be added on SmackDown. I don't think there are any more qualifiers. I mean, it doesn't matter either way. There's no way I can get this video done after SmackDown because it will be the pay-per-view premium live event. And I've also decided the winner, I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands, the winner is in this bracket. Now, in terms of a personal thing, be cool if it was Io Sky. Be absolutely brilliant if it was Chelsea Green, and she will be the person I'm cheering on in the match because I am a massive geek. But I think they're going to give it to Tiffany Stratton. And the reason I think they're going to give it to Tiffany Stratton is I think there is some sort of a plan in place where we know that Nia Jax and Tiffany are now the best of buds, meaning Nia Jax can get involved in this because, of course, anytime Nia's done anything recently, Tiffany's helped, and vice versa, which you can tie into this as well. But also, when we get to SummerSlam, I'm convinced that Tiffany Stratton is going to help Nia Jax become the Women's Championship on SmackDown, which means she's going to beat Bayley. Now, we'll probably do a different video about this. I haven't been overwhelmed with how WWE has treated Bayley after WrestleMania 40. Nothing to do with her. She should have been put into a proper feud. She should be featured on more posters. She is just the most unsung, underrated person maybe in all of WWE. If it's Chad Gable on the men's side, it's absolutely Bayley on the women's side. But it probably does make sense to do a big title change at Hot WrestleMania, SummerSlam, because you want to make it feel like it is a big old event. And to protect Bayley, which I actually think we should do, like sometimes shenanigans do make sense, that's kind of the direction I'd go with it, because then also, coming out of that, you have Nia Jax as the champion and Tiffany Stratton with the Money in the Bank. And the one thing that WWE never does with the women's side of things when it comes to the briefcase is actually have a side story. Usually it's like, oh, you've won, cash in. Oh, you've won, cash in. Let's not do that. In fact, you could probably do that with the men's one that we'll talk about later. But this year, I wanted to come up with something different. And the idea that Tiffany Stratton could go to Raw and challenge a Liv Morgan, for now that will obviously change, or she could turn on Nia Jax and actually break up that partnership, but this time she has the briefcase. That just makes for good TV. Like, you don't have to do it anytime soon, but give it 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months, 4 months, whatever the hell it would be, and then just start doing the teasers. Tiffany Stratton is looking at the title and Nia Jax is like, what are you doing, you absolute heathen? I mean, it's kind of like what Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes are doing right now, but I just think it's a nice spin on the Money in the Bank briefcase. And given that I've actually changed my mind when it comes to the men's version, or maybe I haven't, I don't know. We'll talk about it here anyway. At one point, I have no problem with somebody winning the briefcase and saying, I'm not going after the World Championship, I'm going after the IC belt, I'm going after the tag belts. That's a bit weird. I'm going after the United States Championship, whatever it would be, because if we're going to do it every single year, we have to be open to brand new ideas. Now, if Sheamus has actually got into the men's one, it's the example that I always used, he absolutely can get away with going, oh, by the way, I'm going after the IC title because, of course, that's the last championship he has never won. Doesn't really work with the fields that we do have. But again, let's bring in new concepts and new ideas. And Tiffany Stratton holding it while you have Nia Jax, who actually has the belt, you can probably pay that off. Now, I'm not 100% sure either of them would be a better babyface than they are heels, but also we can rewind the clock to when Nia Jax was feuding with Alexa Bliss, right? Which was hilarious. It was like David versus Goliath. But at the same time, everybody sympathized with Nia Jax because WWE did that bullying story, and I suppose they must have done it quite well. So she's such a good heel, I wouldn't actually want to change it around, but you could do it as long as you do have it in place. So I'm going to go with Tiffany Stratton. I really, really, really do hope it's Chelsea Green, but ultimately, as long as everybody in this is allowed to have their moment, most people come out the side feeling like a bigger star. And as I said on Raw Ups and Downs from What Culture, click the video on the screen and make sure you subscribe to them as well. Zoe Stark being in it, I've just decided Zoe Stark, you know, every now and then you just decide to pick someone. And you're not going to root for that guy. That is what I've done with Zoe Stark. I brought back the Zoe Stark train of fun. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. And I am just going to support her until the wheels come off. Very sadly, I don't think she's going to be the victor here, but I do think she's probably somebody that could do something totally crazy. And again, if she takes out, not Naomi because she's on SmackDown, but maybe she can do something with Io Sky and you can start that feud. I don't know. But actually, no, that's not true, because coming out of this match, you know, Shayna Baszler has always said as soon as Money in the Bank is done, we're going after the tag team titles. And that division, well, actually to prevent the entire tag team division, both men's and women's, needs to be stacked up with more teams. So let's hope that they do that. But I think it'll be great. I think Lyra Valkyria will continue to shine. Awesome that she's in there. And Io Sky, I suppose, could have a fallout with Damage Control, because she keeps looking at Dakota Kai like, you're rubbish. Why do you keep doing it? And I know it was sad on Raw that Dakota Kai didn't get in. I'm 99% sure WWE knows what they're doing. She's going to be totally fine. She's too talented to not be fine. And maybe she does. Maybe she probably comes out to try and help Io Sky with Kairi saying they screw over Io Sky. That's what's going to happen. And then we continue the beats. But I'm laying it in the sand to make sure you do it in the comments below. Right now, I'm going with Tiffany Stratton. That is my choice for Money in the Bank. And it's all going to tie into this crazy new relationship with Nia Jax. We're also going to get an Intercontinental title match, Sami Zayn versus Bron Breakker. And I think this one is absolutely faboo because I can't call it, because there is a big part of me, right? This part right here, that's like, just have Bron Breakker run through Sami Zayn and win the championship. That benefits Bron Breakker for obvious reasons. But Sami Zayn is so good at being the sympathetic babyface, it will just work. He won't feel like any less of a star. It won't feel like he just got jobbed out, whatever it is. You can do a rematch at SummerSlam and Sami Zayn can win the championship back there, should you so wish. But I think it'll just surprise people. Now, the issue is we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches. WWE's favorite new structure for a pay-per-view premium live event, 5 matches. But that doesn't mean you can't do we'll describe it as a Brock Lesnar-Goldberg match, because people understand that from 2016. How the hell is that 8 years ago? But you can't not do that because you have set out a pay-per-view in a specific way. I suppose both Money in the Banks could go a long time as well. I just hope they don't come up with that idea and go, oh, no, we're not going to do it because it may not hit the 3-hour mark. I don't care about that. I care about stories, and I care about how it affects me in my tum-tum. But the other way to go, of course, is Sami Zayn and Bron Breakker have a terrific match over 10, 15, 20 minutes, which they'll absolutely be able to do, and Sami Zayn beats him. Now, given what happened on Raw, you could actually do Looney Tunes with this, but actually I think it would carry serious weight to it, where Bron Breakker is so fast with his spear that he does keep I'm making this Looney Tunes. He does keep running into furniture, Simba the Still Steps, Alan the announce table, Timmy the timekeeper's table, Rita the ring post, Tina the turnbuckle, and whatever else, and eventually kind of knocks himself out. It's a bit dumb. It's a bit like Goldberg versus The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia. This is why I like this one. I do not see Sami Zayn beating Bron Breakker just by giving him the haluva kick 1, 2, 3, because I think Bron has too much momentum right now, and he does have this aura about him when he comes across like a crazy fool that's just going to run through you. So I think we just got to throw it out there. Let's not stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne. Let's have some fun. I don't think it's going to be a squash match like I've pitched it, but I think Bron Breakker should get the victory here. I don't think... see, the only reason I go back on that, as I interrupt myself as always, is if we get to Hot WrestleMania in August and we're going to go back to the Chad Gable stuff, which I still do believe is going to happen. I think he's just on a side quest right now with the Wyatts. He probably wants to face Sami Zayn, and you're not going to flip the title that too many times. But I can't figure out how you beat Bron Breakker right now. And that's a testament to WWE. That's how they've sold him to me. That's how I've started to see him. So I can't get mad at that. Screw it. Let's just do it. It's more fun. I'm going to go with Bron Breakker, but you can't ask me to finish because I don't know what it would be. Do you know what somebody said to me the other day as well? How did they phrase this? It was something to do with Sami Zayn and taking risks, I can't remember. Man, people need to go remember who El Generico was, man. Nobody was doing more stupid stuff than El Generico. In a positive, in a positive and a negative, because you'd have heart attacks like, oh my gosh, what the hell did he just do? He is fantastic. He is a genuine, going back to the underrated conversation and all-timers and legends, I'd put Kevin Owens in this too. Both of them should be there, but we don't talk about them enough. What they did on the independents and then brought to WWE is second to none. But again, let's have some fun. I'm going with Bron Breakker, but man, I cannot figure out how we're going to do this. Maybe he does just get him a spear out of nowhere and wins. That's what happened on Raw, right? But again, we have to tie that in too. Bron Breakker was standing tall on Raw, which usually means he will lose at the pay-per-view. But that's boring, and I'm boring enough in my life. I'm going with Mr. Breakker. And we're going to have an awesome 6-man tag. I am pumped about this. It's Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline 2.0. Now, as of me speaking to you, we don't know whether it's going to be... I think it's definitely going to be Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, but we don't know whether it's going to be Tangaloa or Jacob Fatu. I'd actually have it as Tangaloa, and if Jacob Fatu could just be at ringside, that's cool. Because I think the first time Jacob Fatu competes, well, you can argue it both ways, but I think the longer you hold off him being in an actual match, he just keeps causing devastation. That's only going to build his aura, and that's only going to build his presentation. But it doesn't matter. Everyone on the Bloodline side know what they're doing, especially Tama Tonga, who was just marching to WWE like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And it's Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. Now, I do think there are going to be more teasers here from Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. I think at one point they're going to hit each other by accident. It's not going to play off anytime soon, but down the line. And I'm a bit worried that Kevin Owens is going to take the pin. But then there's something in that too, because if Cody Rhodes is going to feud with everybody and Kevin Owens takes the pin here, and he has been on a little bit of a losing streak because the Bloodline keep whooping his ass, maybe Kevin Owens is the first person to turn heel and challenge Cody. I'd be well down for that, and then Randy follows suit. I'd be well down to that too. I just don't think the Bloodline can lose right now, especially because if we do Cody versus Solo at SummerSlam, I don't think Cody loses there. Not to Solo. I like Solo. I think Solo gets an unfair rap on that there internet. I think he's way better than people give him credit for. But he shouldn't be winning the World Championship right now. It's not the right time. Sometimes you can feel it, sometimes you don't feel it. I don't feel it. But it does mean when we get into these six-mans, I think probably Solo pins Cody. I think that's the finish of this, because then that does set up SummerSlam, Hot WrestleMania, and explains why you're doing that. And at some point, maybe here or maybe at that pay-per-view, Roman Reigns has to come back, and as soon as that happens, they can all, splinter off into a different feud, and that's probably where you get to Cody versus Randy. So I'm going to go all in here, AEW. I'm going to say Solo pins Cody, maybe after an error by the babyface team, which plants seeds to the future, and Roman Reigns probably comes back at SummerSlam, and I guess he interferes. I don't know, but it would be, look, if Bloodline 2.0, we're talking about SummerSlam now, but if Bloodline 2.0 are running wild over Cody Rhodes and screwing him, and Kevin Owens has been taken out, and Randy Orton's been taken out, then Roman Reigns comes out to teach them all a lesson. I don't think this hinders Cody at all. I just think it's a story beat. Cody has proved himself over and over and over again. As we've already talked about, sometimes it is time for shenanigans. But yes, Solo pins Cody in this. That brings us to the SummerSlam. Bret Hart, happy birthday today, Bret Hart, 67, I believe. And then coming out of SummerSlam, we can go in our different directions. But that's what I'm going with, and that is the most confident I am to all of these predictions, especially when we get to the other Money in the Bank. Although that's not true, because we also have Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight title. I don't know. Now, you'd have to imagine this could main event. I think this has to main event because it has to come after the men's ladder in the bank. It has to come after the men's ladder in the bank because you need the idea when you're watching the men's one that Drew McIntyre could win. And if the last thing we see is the men's Money in the Bank and there's no way for Drew to cash in, then he can't live up to his promise. That's actually a faux pas, I've just realized. How does Drew know what the structure is? How does he know he's going to win the World Championship? And it all does tie in. So I have decided that I think Drew McIntyre, we'll have to talk about them all. These two tie in. This is why I'm excited for this show. I have decided that I think Drew McIntyre is a definite hopeful for Money in the Bank. The two I've got are him or Jey Uso. Now, Jey Uso, as far as I'm concerned, could be one of the guys that goes after one of the secondary titles. Maybe a bit dumb, but it all depends who holds it. And if it is Drew and we do Damian versus Seth, I don't know, because I kind of have a feeling that Finn Balor may cost Damian Priest the championship. Finn Balor has to get involved at some point. We have made it very clear that either sooner rather than later or after he loses the belt, Damian and Finn are going to feud with each other, and that will be the end of the Judgment Day. I love that feud. I think it'll be really good. Once more, two people that are killing it right now and probably need a lot more noise about them. But do you really want Seth Rollins to win the championship and then Drew McIntyre cashes in on him? I think Drew McIntyre should leave this show as the champion. I think that's the best thing to do it. Unless CM Punk, I don't know. This is why it's so good, right? Listen to myself. I'm having an argument because, of course, you could do the way that Drew McIntyre is about to cash in, but he isn't able to because Punk screws him over. That allows Drew McIntyre to continue on with the briefcase, which I think is important. Maybe when you get to Drew versus CM Punk for the first time, that could be a stipulation if you want to go totally crazy. I personally wouldn't do that, but you certainly can. So I don't really care about the whole Seth Rollins not being able to challenge Damian Priest for the world title because I don't think Damian Priest is going to hold it for another 6 months or so. So there's plenty of other stuff you can do, but I also like this idea of Seth being inserted into the Drew McIntyre and Punk stuff because we do need to do Drew and Punk at one point. So this one really has me baffled. So once again, fair play WWE. But I think Seth Rollins will win. I think this is going to be the start of the end of the Judgment Day. And if he wins, Damian Priest has to leave as per the rules, and that can just drive the wedge between him and Finn Balor, and that will be that. And of course, if Balor screws him over, Damian can then go full babyface because he didn't actually lose, right? Once again, he got shenanigan. And then, yeah, moving on to the men's Money in the Bank, Jey Uso, Chad Gable, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, Andrade, and Carmelo Hayes. Also an amazing lineup. I hope Andrade and Carmelo Hayes especially get their moments. Screw it, man. Sometimes we should just do the smart, fun stuff. I'm going with Drew McIntyre, and I do think he gets involved in that World Heavyweight title match. And I think he definitely attempts to cash in on Seth because they have history too. Because of course he did it at WrestleMania. And if Punk is there, he stops him. And if he doesn't, I think Drew walks away with that belt, because you could also argue that CM Punk versus Drew, while it doesn't need the title, if it does have the title, it just makes it even more crazy. Like, what are we going to do? And maybe CM Punk murks him after he's already done it. I don't know. Maybe for the first time ever. Has this ever happened? It must have happened, right? Somebody cashes in and we don't get the point where the referee's running around going, I don't know what to do, so that the person can stop cashing in. It doesn't count. They keep their briefcase. Maybe it does get official and then CM Punk gets involved. We've definitely done that before. Oh, man. You know what? Let's just have fun with it. Let's go with that. Seth Rollins wins the World Heavyweight title. Drew McIntyre wins the Money in the Bank. After that shenanigans, Drew comes out to cash in on Seth, and he's about to do it. Like, it's all official and good, and then CM Punk screws him over. Now, it's pushing that narrative a little bit too far. We do need to get to the match sooner or later. I understand the injuries. But then I think, hopefully, whatever we do with the women's Money in the Bank can kind of stand on its own 2 feet, because it won't be merged in with something we're doing on the other show. I don't think this would be the same in modern WWE or new era WWE. But in the past, sometimes you kind of have 2 concurrent storylines that are too similar to each other when it comes to a gimmick. Whereas here, that sorts it out. And once more, I just think the opportunity has landed in WWE's lap, because then Drew McIntyre and CM Punk are just playing wrestling tennis. I screwed you, you screwed me, which would then make perfect sense why an authority figure, be it Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce or Triple H even, says, right, you have to sort this out at SummerSlam, Hot WrestleMania, because it's just out of control. And I do think there's a huge argument to say that without the championship on the line, it's even more confusing who the hell's going to win. I think Drew McIntyre should cheat, beat CM Punk to be the ultimate hypocrite. And also, mostly within America, I think CM Punk is just going to be considered to be the babyface.
So I'm an idiot. I didn't finish my predictions. Obviously, in the men's Money in the Bank match, Chad Gable is so going to be climbing the ladder at one point, and then Uncle Howdy and his goons are going to screw him over. And with LA Knight, he too is probably going to be climbing the ladder at one point, and Logan Paul will screw him over. And the reason I'm fine with all of this is because if Drew McIntyre wins all that shenanigans, it makes him a bigger hypocrite. But also, I like shenanigans. I miss the shenanigans, and in a match where you're climbing a ladder to get the briefcase, you should go totally crazy. There's probably other things I'm not thinking about as well, but yeah, we should absolutely double down on all of this. I mean, Legado del Fantasma could probably get involved with Andrade as well, and if Drew McIntyre does win, because the rest of the field gets taken out of other people, and he really leans into that, if he then does get screwed over by Punk, it'll be brilliant. But their predictions as well, I'm just a moron.
So that's what I'm going with. So Sami Zayn will lose to Bron Breakker. Seth Rollins will beat Damian Priest. Cody will be beaten by Solo. I mean, that will be the victory there. And Tiffany Stratton for women's and Drew McIntyre for men's. I've never been less confident about something in my life. I could enter a best hair competition tomorrow and have more confidence walking into that, and there ain't no way I'm winning. But more importantly, I need to know what you think. I've definitely not done a good job here, so make it better. Putting your 2 cents in the comments below. When you are there mucking around, look in that description box, like the video, share the video, subscribe, of course. Click the video on the screen when you have done commenting, because YouTube loves that the most. Also, you can visit GorillaMind.com/Simon, and these are the supplements I use. Gorilla Mind is 10% off everything if you do use my code. And every time they release something new, which they're doing all the time, you get more money off as well. So make sure you use that code. And it's worldwide shipping in case you are interested. And if you're in America and you spend over $100, it's free shipping too. So that's a great old day. Patreon.com/Simon316, Simon316 on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Threads especially I'm enjoying at the moment because it's just such a nice community. Simon J. Miller on TikTok for dumb wrestling short. Simon Miller on Cameo for personalized messages. Appreciate those on the videos. And then, yes, Pro Wrestling Tees, Samson Athletics. If you want to buy some merchandise, get your warm and fuzzy in my Tum Tum t-shirt. Why wouldn't you want to wear that? Otherwise, my friends, enjoy the week. Enjoy Money in the Bank. I'll see you soon.